Hello and welcome to On the Campaigns Trail, TVJ's look at all the happenings in the race to Gordon House. I'm Jamaica Maitland. In today's show, we hear from the Electoral Office of Jamaica and how it's been preparing for the upcoming general election, including a look at its electronic voter identification system. And our constituency profiles continue. So please stay with us. On the Campaign Trail, we'll be right back. Welcome back to On the Campaign Trail. I'm Jamaica Maitland. As you would imagine, the political parties aren't the only ones in preparation mode for the general election, from training election day workers to selecting polling stations. And that's not even the half of it. There's a lot happening behind the scenes, action taking place at the Electoral Office of Jamaica. Like the public, the EOJ's head, Glasspool Brown, says he too is awaiting the date. A stoic director of elections, Glasspool Brown, when jokingly asked about the date of the general election. Mr. Brown, during an exclusive interview with TVJ's On the Campaign Trail, says his only wish is for the election to be held on a Monday. He explained that it gives the EOJ time and flexibility to prepare over the weekend.
All the different stationaries that need to be supplied, distribution of all the materials across the 7,000 plus polling stations on election day. All of these stations are in excess of 2,000 locations. So it's all in our work. And then you have to have that coordination between that 30,000 persons that are a part of the process.
Under the law, nomination days 5 days after an election date is announced. Mr. Brown revealed that during this time, the EOJ enters what it calls 24-hour operations. The election can happen anywhere between 16 and 23 days after nomination day. And
the norm has been that they would tend to get in the minimum amount within 16 days. So we have to plan what we do to get a number of things done within 16 days.
Mr. Brown says a large majority of the preparatory work has been done. The remainder can only happen when the election is called. The work then intensifies after nomination day. Of note, the number of polling stations will be increased compared to the local government election in 2024. Mr. Brown says it'll help make the voting process more convenient for the electorate.
In the last election we had, that's a local government election, we had 6,726 polling stations. We're looking to increase that in excess of 7,000 and close to an addition of 500 more polling stations will be up and operating on election day.
The number of election day workers have also increased to include a new category, polling station assistants. They're expected to check the voters' information before approaching the presiding officer. Additionally, the EOJ will be rolling out a new electronic voter identification system, EVIS. It'll be used in Kingston, St. Andrew, and St. Catherine.
We did not use it in the local government election, but we'll be using it for the upcoming election, and those will be concentrated in 7 constituencies.
The EOJ says it plans to fully utilize the system in more constituencies in future elections, but it's costly. Globally, countries have been adopting different versions of an electronic voter ID system. Aside from verifying voters, it can also detect voter fraud. The elections director says an electronic vote counting system is also being discussed for future elections. He says the time taken to manually count thousands of votes increases the risk of errors. Additionally, the pressure to produce timely results is tenfold in close constituencies. We asked about the uncertainty surrounding the results of the local government election in 2024.
I think the issue was that because of the competitive nature of that election, persons weren't able to, whereas also was somewhat anticipating a faster turnaround.
Glasspool Brown, in defending the EOJ's track record, says preliminary results are usually announced by 10 p.m. The final count is done 3 days later. If you're registered to vote in Kingston East and Port Royal, Kingston Central, St. Andrew Western, St. Andrew West Central, St. Andrew Eastern, St. Andrew Southeastern, or St. Catherine Southeastern, you'll be using the new electronic voter identification system, EVIS. EVIS was formerly EVIBIS, and it was used to authenticate one's identity before issuing the ballots. The main objectives of EVIS are to prevent impersonation of electors, prevent multiple voting by persons, and prevent the use of unauthenticated ballots. On the Campaign Trail received exclusive access to how the process will work on Election Day.
This is our EVIS tablet that we'll be using on Election Day. It will be used in the identification process when our electors visit the location, our polling station. So the tablet itself comes with its own fingerprint reading device. Right? So normally we would have at our desk a laptop and a fingerprint reader separately, along with charger and other devices. It could be cumbersome, and there are more avenues for failure to happen. With this device though, everything is in one. It's easier to set up, easier to manipulate on a day, easier for our presiding officer and also our electors to use as well. You'll just provide a name, they'll check to make sure that you're in the correct polling station, and then you'll be asked to place your finger on the scanner when prompted. And the device will run through its own database. The database that it's using is using the registration information that you provided at your constituency offices. Yes. And once you've been identified through the EVIS tablet, the presiding officer will then carry you through the remaining election process.
And it's now time for a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to On the Campaign Trail. Low voter turnout has been a negative feature of Jamaica's election since the 1990s. More and more citizens are staying away from the polls. But could this be hurting the health of the democracy? This is the focus of our next feature.
Important for people to vote. Them not do nothing for me. Them not do nothing for me.
I don't think it's important, because whether or not I still at work, I still maintain my family.
Depends on if they're working on their promises, they promise it.
The responses from citizens in the corporate area when asked whether they'd be voting in the upcoming general election. It represents the growing number of Jamaicans who've been exercising their right not to vote.
I not vote for none of them because I don't see what them do. None of them no fool my eye. I'm not give none of the two of them no vote, none of them.
According to the Electoral Office of Jamaica, data shows that voter turnout has been trending downwards over the last 30 years. Voter turnout started to gradually decline in 1993 from 67.4% to 61.5% in 2007. In the 2011 election, it dipped to 53.2%. In 2016, 47%, the lowest since independence. 2020 would have shattered that record with a scathing 37% voter turnout. Researcher at the UWI Mona School of Business, Dr. Stephen Johnson, says the country's democracy is at risk.
Democracy is about majority rule. And once you go below 50%, is the minority making the decision of the government. Right? And then we went even further. And we went to 37%. And there's a possibility that we could go further.
Dr. Johnson, during a presentation of the findings of a study on undecided voters, says they're mostly young people, Gen Zs and millennials, women. They're mainly from rural Jamaica, earn modestly and receive education up to the secondary level. He listed some of the areas of concerns from undecided voters.
The greatest support is for the continuation of free hospital care. Importance of the social safety net, which is passed. Then we have the issue of corruption. Then we have the issue of the need for a livable wage. Having access, but this one jumped out at me. Having access to quality teachers.
Political commentator Damian Gordon.
Up to the 1980s, people were voting in large numbers in Jamaica. The turnout in the 1960s and 70s and 80s was high. It started to dwindle from the 1990s onwards because of years of failed expectations, and it has not been fermented in the minds of voters, especially young people, that politicians serve themselves, they don't serve the interests of the public.
But could staying away from the poll be a potential danger to democracy?
Remember, say we have people who fight for a black man eligible for voting. I remember we couldn't vote one time, a woman them couldn't vote neither, you know. And people fight for that. You understand what I say? So it's very important to vote, because a no vote is a vote for things to remain the same. You understand what I say? So when you vote, your voice, your opinion the way there. You understand what I say? So the man when I vote, him a vote for him comfortable. Him alright to do the place around.
Because Jamaica is a democratic country. If you don't vote, you don't have a standard chance in the country. You don't have nothing for say in the country, because there's a lot of things going on in the country. And most of the Jamaicans, them not voting. And yet still they're talking. So basically, it better you care about whether JLP or PMP, you have a choice.
Mr. Gordon theorized that there are two categories of undecided voters: the disgruntled voters who've been let down by either party, and the informed voters who are more aware of the issues and less inclined to vote out of duty.
These are the ones who are interested in your manifestos. They're interested in your policy proposals. They're not interested in handouts and transactional voting. They want real solutions to the issues that they face.
Leon, who recently turned 18 years old, says he plans to vote in the next election.
They always say that young people always have a lot of ideas, and that sometimes we have a good perspective on how to lead into the future. So I think young people should be voting when they're able to, so they're represented in Parliament.
He says there's a common misconception that young people do not want to become involved in the voting process. He argued that voting is not introduced to them until later on in life, and by that time, they're usually uninterested.
I don't really know yet. I never really cared about politics and the politics thing, you know? I'm not really old enough for that yet, in my view.
In the study conducted by Dr. Johnson, he says political parties, civil society groups, and government organizations have a duty to engage the electorate. Programs like the Ministry of Education's National Youth Parliament for high school students and the Political Awareness and Respective Initiative PARI by the Office of the Political Ombudsman for students at the tertiary level are two examples.
People are interested, people care, but they're not sure how to engage. So with CAFE, again, I mean, I'm not saying the Political Ombudsman Commission, but it would have been okay if they don't have funding, to have some funding in the Political Ombudsman Commission that could go to CAFE to help them do the work that they're doing out there.
But according to Mr. Gordon, a lecturer with the Department of Government at UWI Mona, there needs to be an intentional shift in how politics is perceived at an appropriate age.
Sensitizing, building awareness and knowledge about the rules of government and what are the rules of citizens in relation to government and vice versa. I think that should be an important part of our school curriculum.
He says with the decades of mistrust in politicians, it could take just as long to rebuild that trust. It's why Mr. Gordon reasoned that it won't be a sprint, but a marathon to address voter apathy.
I say it will take time, and it will take consistency in terms of your efforts, what you do, aligning with what you say, the full picture of a government that is working for people, the full picture of a party that is reforming itself in alignment with people's values, their expectations, and their needs. But it will take some time.
We're at our final break now, but when we return, we turn the spotlight on the battle for East Portland. Welcome back to On the Campaign Trail. Over in Portland Eastern, where both the political parties are pulling all the stops to make their presence felt. But with issues surrounding infrastructure, predial larceny, and voter apathy among youth, some electors want real change. Here's Ramarda Lyons.
As the campaign trail heats up in Portland Eastern, some voters have grown cold. It's a parish known for rafting, but they say there's a raft of issues to be addressed.
One of them, the disinterest among young people. This is the Portland Municipal Corporation building, where councillors meet weekly to discuss plans for youth. But right outside, some youth say they have no interest in politics.
I'm 22 years old, and
tell you honest truth, I'm not interested for vote. Yeah, I never think about it. I never vote.
Is there anything that could be done to change your mind to get you to go out and vote for a particular person?
Well, not at the moment.
I am 22 years old. I have a voter's ID and I never vote yet and I don't think I vote.
Mother paint them for the Labour right and like then tell me vote, but me.
This 23-year-old has a different stance, and this is why.
Yeah, man, me get help, man. Me get all money, me get all material like cement and board and gravel. You understand? Like type of road fixment and place where never water, get water and light. Me like the type of work where she put it. She's the best and the greatest MP Portland could ever see.
The only thing stronger than the smell of seawater in Port Antonio, the presence of political paraphernalia. Even trees bearing orange, but not the fruit. Portland Eastern MP Anne-Marie Vaz beat the PNP's Bishop Purcell Jackson in the 2020 general election. She won the Port Antonio and Prospect divisions, which were considered traditional PNP strongholds, never won by the JLP since the 1981 local government elections. She swept the other three divisions, Ferry Hill, Fellowship, and Mansion Hill, polling 8,360 votes to Mr. Purcell's 6,235 to be elected for her first full term as an MP. This time around, Mrs. Vaz, dubbed Action Ann, will go up against attorney-at-law Isaac Buchanan. Does he have the power to yell cut on her reign?
All when PMP now give me nothing, me a strictly PMP see away. Me strictly vote PMP, me nah switch, no care what. Me nah switch. I me have to find me food and everything, but me a strictly PMP see away, I me not care.
Buchanan can't win Miss Vaz. And you will sit down back in the saddle.
Why you believe that?
The time I go on good. He might do good. He may not do good for me, you know, but he might do for the country and other people. But he might do good. Switch what? I'm not a short circuit. I'm not a short circuit. I'm not a switch.
Now, there are people who don't care about any of them.
I vote for me jelly them. I vote for PMP in our Labour right. A jelly make me eat and drink. No Labour right, no PMP. None of them never do nothing for me yet. I swear, jelly do everything for me. Everything when me have a jelly make me have it.
He says both candidates have been superficial.
Me go see them drive pass by, stop and buy jelly a few times. None of them never do nothing for me. Never offer me nothing yet.
Others want real problems fixed. One of such, healthcare. Port Antonio Hospital is the focus.
Yes, the hospital needs some more doctors and more nurses.
Well, as an elder, there are times when you need help, and you go to them, they will kind of look down on you and say their remarks and say, boy, you should be here. And when them talk, they don't treat you like a human, they treat you like an animal.
As Carol Burke walks with his goats, it's a common thought that they could be snatched at any minute. So for livestock farmers like him, pretty larceny needs to be addressed.
As farmer left out, because at the same time, there's nothing they might do for farmer. One just talk about them or do this, and then after they win a different something. They now fulfill them with them plan.
He says when animals are stolen, it's a major setback.
You lose a crop, because at the same time, sometimes they take away my breed and all and something. So you lose him and you lose the time and you lose everything.
And this is a common complaint in elections, bad roads. But as this retiree explains, it's not the road itself, but what it can cause.
Once there is a sick person, by the time you get to the main plus to go to the hospital, they might fade away. The main roads are looking good, but like in the interior where I live, it's very bad, and every minute I have to put in shocks onto my car.
I noticed differences. This road, for example, freshly paved. Then there's this, rugged, no asphalt atop it. Just a party poster and a flag.
Reporting from Portland, I'm Ramarda Lyons for TVJ News.
And that's it for On the Campaign Trail. I'm Jamaica Maitland. Pleasant viewing.